Okay, so welcome to Fabulosity For You, and my name is Angie. If this is your first time visiting my channel, please click the subscribe button and click the notification bell so when I upload videos, you'll be the first to know. Like this video and make a comment. This channel is about fashion, beauty, and lifestyle. And if this is not your first time visiting my channel, well, welcome back, my queens and kings out there. Today, I told you last video on Friday that I was going to do a love after lockup video. And I'm doing it because, number one, they talk about relationships, and this channel does too. And number two, even though it's ratchet, it's entertaining. And so, let's begin. So, today we're going to talk about, if you see me looking down, yes, I am reading, okay? I've jotted some notes. So, today we're going to be looking at, I will be reviewing Love After Lockup, Season 4, 49. Season 4, number 49. Okay, and so I'm just going to kind of talk about each couple and then tell you what happened in Season 4, Episode 49. Okay, so to the first couple, I'm going to, before I even begin, the couples that I'm going to be talking about today is going to be 6 couples. And if you have not watched Love After Lockup, then what you need to know is one of the partners of each couple has been incarcerated. Okay, and then they got out, and either they got married or they got into a serious relationship, a committed relationship. Now, before I begin, I'm going to say this. I personally don't think that when you've been locked up, and you've been locked up for some years, that I just don't feel like when you get out, you should get married, you should jump into a serious relationship. Now, if you already married, that's a different story. But if you're not married, I wouldn't do it, because if you've been locked up a long time, you want to be free and see who you want to see and do what you want to do with no restrictions. But I believe that some people, they feel bad that this person has stayed with them, put money on their books, and have really fallen in love, and then, you really don't want to be with them. And I think that some people don't have anywhere to go, and so they want to continue with the relationship. It's different reasons why people continue to come out of jail and be with this person and get married. And maybe because they've been supportive, but it's not a great idea, and this TV show lets you know that. So, the first couple that we're going to talk about is Monique and Derek. Okay? And so, Monique is 34 and Derek is 30. Monique is from Chicago and Derek is from Cleveland. Now, the way they met, that he was able to have access to social media. So I believe on Instagram, he put something out like, Lonely, just looking for a friend. And she had she was in a relationship, but it wasn't going as expected. And so she had answered his email. Answered him on Instagram in his DM. She went into the DM. From there, they started developing a relationship. Now, Derek and Monique, she wasn't quite honest with him. She didn't let him know that she was really obese. She just showed the top picture of her, and he didn't know it. Now, he is a guy that is in shape, and he's a nice looking guy. And so I can understand Monique, didn't want to reveal that right away, but she should have been honest with him. I guess when she sent a picture, a full body picture, and that's what he didn't get. But regardless, he says he fell in love with the person that she was. She was very supportive with him. She put money on his books. And he says he fell in love. Now, when he got out of jail, to me, Monique seemed like a sugar mama because she spent her money and she came to Cleveland and got a real nice hotel, took him out to dinner, and the bill was like $500. He ordered lobster tails and all kinds of stuff. She bought him a beautiful, and if I don't get everything right, don't beat me up because I'm just going by memory. She bought him a beautiful watch. He had brand new clothes on. I mean, he was dressed in Burberry. He was dressed, okay? And from there, he wanted to go to the boat and was expecting her to give him money for that. So she was like a sugar mama, in my opinion. But as it went on, he had an affair. Well, I'm not going to call it an affair because he's not married, but he slept with another woman that was also writing him, and he was in contact with him while he was in jail. And she found out about it, so she broke up with him. But before the breakup, he introduced her to his family, his sisters, and they, laughed at her being fat and told her that she's not his type. And they was just real ghetto with her. And it ended up, at the end of the day, her sisters, she had some sisters, I think it was 3 sisters, and they got into the fight with his 3 sisters. And Monique and her sisters won, honey. She said, I gave them what they asked for because they was like really ignorant with her because of her looks. And I didn't think that was right. So moving right along, they ended up breaking up because he cheated on her. And eventually he ended up calling her back, telling her he's sorry. He just got out of jail and it is what it is, but he wants to really be with her. So he asked his parole officer if he can go to Chicago. He told his grandmother, because while he's on parole, he's staying with the grandmother, that he really loved Monique. And he ended up buying her really a beautiful ring. And I'm just going to give you a tidbit. When he went to jail, he was like a big-time drug dealer. So, when he bought her this ring, I'm like, where did he get this money from? So, obviously, he still had money. And he bought her this ring, and he told his grandmother he really loved her. And the grandmother told him, hey, then keep your sisters out your business, and you go be with this woman and make sure you treat her right and make sure that you're ready for her. Because she said, I don't think you're really ready for her. You just got out of jail. But he goes to Chicago and he comes to her house. And Monique had a real nice house. And he had these beautiful flowers for her. And so her family came over. I mean, it was all 3 of her sisters, her best friend, her godmother. I think she might have had 4 sisters. I'm not for certain. And they all questioning him. Are you going to be right with her? And they just ganging up on him, which I thought was really immature. Bottom line is, you shouldn't have your family in your business. I'm going to throw that tidbit in, but I'm going to continue the story. So it was like 6 or 7 of them in the house, and they was ganging up on him. And while they were ganging up on him, his phone, he had a notification. He had a text, and it went off, and they heard it. He looked at it, and they were like, who is that? And Monique was trying to snatch the phone and all of the things. It was just tripped out. And so he runs in the bathroom, and he comes out, and they ended up grabbing the phone. And it's some chick that's, and he said himself in the confessional, oh my God, I got some of everything on this phone. It's like dirty, filthy phone with pictures, all kinds of nasty messages from women. And so Monique saw all of that. And she told the family. And he was like, those are old. And she was like, but this message you just deleted is a new message. So she called, and the girl said she was a promoter, a bottle girl, and she was trying to tell him about a party. But the party was in Atlanta. So that's where he got caught up. And they said, well, you know, why would she be telling you about a party that's and she live in Atlanta? And so they was like, you had rehearsed these girls to feed these lines in case you called. And excuse me, my nose is allergies. And I believe that's what happened. And so at the end of it all, the family told Monique, you need to leave this man alone. He's a cheater. And she said she has to think about it, and everybody really needs to go. And after she put her family out, she ended up putting Derek out. And so he's out on the, I guess he got to get a hotel or wherever. Or maybe he knows somebody there. I don't know. But she ended up putting him out. And so what I'm going to say about that couple is Monique is constantly, going through his room, going through his bags. And this is throughout the whole season. Looking at his phone. He even had to buy another phone. Bottom line is, if you feel like this man is cheating, first of all, you always go by your gut and leave him alone. But I think because she's overweight, and he's a good-looking man, and he's in shape, that maybe she thinks she'll never get a man like this. And so she wants to keep him. But at the end of the day, if you got to go through people's phones and go through their clothes and go through their bags and go through their rooms just to see if they're true to you, then that's not the person for you. And he says he loves her, so I cannot say he don't. He's saying those are his feelings. But I really think that he's with her because she's a sugar mama. And I could be mistaken. He's saying he really loves her. But if you really love her, then you wouldn't be doing the things that you're doing. Or you would tell her, listen, I'm not in a space right now to be committed, but give me time. Let's take a break, and I'll be back. And if the person's there for you, they're there. They're not. They're not. But I have a t-shirt on. I'm going to stand up real quick. And it says, you never win playing dirty. I want to give a shout out to my ex-neighbor. And her name was Astoria. And Astoria made this t-shirt. She makes two shirts for me. And I love this because it says, you never win playing dirty. So when you think you're sitting up trying to do somebody dirty, you're never going to come out a winner. And so I think the next episode, he's going to propose. But to me, she a fool if she sits up and marries this man. And the thing is, I think he's been locked up for like 10 years. So why would he come out and be committed? I don't know. I think he should have gave himself a chance, no matter how good she was to him. If he wasn't ready to settle with her, then he should have been honest with her. Okay, so the next couple is going to be Chance and Taylor. Okay, and so Chance is 42 and Taylor is 27. They are from St. Peter, Missouri. And number one, it's a big age difference. Okay, I'm going to say that. So the backstory on them is that, okay, so he was in jail. I don't remember how they met, but they were communicating while he was in jail. She already, I believe, had 2 children. He gets out of jail, and then she ends up getting pregnant. But during this whole time, he did have a job, and but he was spending his money on buying equipment for landscaping. I think he wanted to do his own business, and that's great. But she was upset because she's like, you know, you buying all these equipments and they had a joint account. You using my money too, and we don't have money for that. We have a baby on the way. And he was like, well, you see, you just don't understand. You know, I need to have my own business so I can take care of you guys and I don't have to answer to nobody and blah, 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 blah. But she's like, yeah, but we don't have the money. And not only was he doing that, he was also gambling. When he went to the bar, they had slot machines, and he was losing money. And when you really don't have money to lose, you're losing a lot of money. And so, you know, she found out. He ended up telling her that because she's asking for money to get the baby room together and, you know, buy stuff for the baby, and he didn't have the money. And so he had to tell her, listen, you know, hey, yeah, I have gambled. And she found out he's really spending a lot of money at that bar gambling. Meantime, he also have lady friends, female friends that's calling him. She going through his phone too, and she's listening, looking at the text messages and all of the things. And she asked him, why are you communicating with these women? He was like, when I was in jail, you know, they were there for me. They sent me money on my books. They helped me, you know, talking to me, and I could talk to them. And he said, one reason I'm friends with these women because I can't communicate with you. Anytime I tell you something, you going off, you upset, you crying. And I can just tell my female friends whatever I want to say, and they're accepting and they're listening, and I'm not being judged. So in episode 49, this past episode, well, let me just say this. She ended up having a baby. And he lost his job. And he didn't want to tell her he lost the job. So he gets up every morning and he goes to the bar and gambles. So he can't afford to pay the rent that's coming up, the bills that are due. He was paying everything, and now he cannot. And he's afraid to talk with her because he said he really can't talk with her. So, in episode 49, this previous episode, the recent episode, she has the location on her phone where he's at, and he had it on for a change because usually he don't. So she takes her sister, and they go to the bar. And he's in there with his friend Tanya. She knows about Tanya because she's seen Tanya's text. But she never seen Tanya before. So she goes in there. He sees her come in right away because he's facing the door. Before she came in, Tanya said, man, I don't see why you got into a serious relationship with her. I know you love her, but you should have been thinking about yourself. And Tanya comes in. I'm sorry. Taylor comes in with her sister, and she's like crying and a mess. He's like, why are you crying? And Tanya was like, you don't have nothing to be worried about. He was like, this is just a friend. She was like, yeah, but you lied to me. You didn't tell me you was going out with a friend. And so he was like, and this is the reason why. Because I can never talk to you. And he just goes berserk. And he went to the bar and bought back drinks for her, his girl, and her sister. And he had bought doubles, and they not drinking. And he's trying to drink and just getting drunk. And Taylor, his friend, is like, you don't have nothing to worry about, dude. Stop drinking. And she touches him, his shoulder. Stop drinking. She's doing this. And she's like, man, come on. Don't holler at her. And he runs to the bathroom, and on the way to the bathroom, he stops and they talk, and she's like, don't get drunk. You handling this wrong. And he puts his arm around her and is like, you're my friend. I can calm down for you. And his girl, Taylor, is upset because she's like, he's treating me like crap, and he lied to me. But he has his arms around her, talking calm to her, and she didn't get it. And so she was able to kind of calm him down. They didn't want the police to get involved because he would go back to jail because he's on parole. And so they go outside, And he basically tells her he doesn't tell Taylor, his girlfriend, he don't want her. Tanya said she'll take him home. And Taylor stood up and was like, no, you making me feel uncomfortable. You putting your hands on my hands. You're not going to take my man home. So she was like, I had enough of this. So she walked out. And so it ended where I guess he's going home, but he's kind of done with Taylor. Yeah, he's kind of done with Taylor. And so, in my opinion, I say this all the time, I really don't think that people that are in committed relationships are married should have friends of the opposite sex that both partners are friends with. Now, if both of you guys are friends, you and your man is friends with somebody with the opposite sex, and you, like, say for Taylor, if Taylor was also friends with Tanya and they all three hung out together, I can understand. But if you just gonna have the opposite sex as your friend and just your friend, that's no good. I didn't like the fact that Tanya was telling him he shouldn't have been in a serious relationship. This woman that had his baby. And even if he shouldn't have, which she's right, it wasn't her place to say that. If anything, she should just be supportive of his relationship. It's not good for your man to have emotional attachment to another female, because he's telling all his problems to her, and you know, he's been her confidant. And the only confidant that you should have is your significant other. So he's 42 years old. So as I said before, when you 20s, you don't know no better. When you 30s, you still learning. But when you 40s, you should know better. And so he playing her big time. The communication is not great, because he should be able to tell her, listen, I lost my job. He should be able to talk to her about whatever. So they don't have communications. She obviously doesn't trust him. And he's having emotional connections with other women. So this relationship is a disaster. And here she is, just had a newborn baby. But I think she should just cut her losses. Her sister said, as he said at the end, well, I'll move out and let your sister move back in. So obviously she's lived with her sister before. Her sister at the end said she would move in. And I would cut my losses and take him to child support. So whenever he gets a job, then he will have to pay her. Next. The next couple is Heiress and Cameron. Okay. So, Heiress is 30 years old and Cameron is 31 years old. And they are from Missouri. Okay. So, the background on them was Cameron was in jail. He was some type of big-time drug dealer. And he gets out, and he was already in a relationship with Heiress before he went to jail. He told her she don't have to wait for him. Go ahead on with your life. But she insisted on waiting for him and continuing the relationship while he was in jail. So as soon as he got out of jail, he wanted to marry her, because he felt like, you know, she waited on him and she didn't have to do that. She proved his love. She stood by him, and he knew this was the woman for him. And not only that, he wanted to make sure he stayed out of trouble. He did add that in to her father today on this new episode. So the crazy thing about all of this, they got married within 24 hours of him getting out of jail. She has a 10-year-old daughter. And she didn't tell her daughter. She didn't tell her parents. She just married him. And he didn't tell his family. So, after the marriage, he did tell his family. And they met her. They met Heiress. And they was like, you know, hey, you grown. We think you rushed it. But if you happy, we happy. Okay, so then Heiress told her daughter, and her daughter was like, oh, wow, you know. Well, hey, Mom, if this is what you want to do, and she was 10 years old and said she made a move too quick, but she was like, hey, Mom, if this what you want to do, then hey, then that's what you do. Okay, and so the sisters had a gathering for them in their honor for being married, and Heiress didn't show. And she didn't show because she said she was sick. But between you and me, I think she should have made a better effort in trying to come, because they had a party for them, and it didn't look like she was real sick, you know. So I think she should have made that effort. I think she just, to me, didn't want to go, but you know, but she said she was sick. But I think she could have pushed herself. So in this episode, well, let me just say this. I think she sent her daughter to live with her mother because she was in school and she didn't want to take her out of school. And I think that's a great thing that she did. They ended up buying a home. Well, she bought the home and she told him, all I need you to do is get a job and help me with these bills. Now, for some reason, he still have a lot of money too. So I think he must have had money left from when he was a drug dealer. And he bought her a nice ring, and he told her no problems helping you with the bills. And she's like, well, you're not working, so where you getting this money? And he was like, I'm not used to people asking me what I do and where my money coming from. Don't worry about the money. Just understand I got you. And so that's a red flag. But this episode, going forward, Aries' father came to visit to meet Cameron, and she had to tell him, take your grills out, put your flag down in your pocket. I guess he had a handkerchief hanging in his pocket. Put that in. My father is about to come. And so the father was mad because he didn't ask him for his hand. So the father comes in and he was like, you know, hey, I got a problem with you. I think y'all married too fast. You didn't do it the right way. Cameron owned all of it, and he said he was sorry, and he told him he'd been incarcerated, and he said the reason he wanted to marry fast because he didn't want to get back in the streets. And he knew with her that wasn't going to happen. He said, you've been incarcerated. And he was like, yeah, several times. And so he said, you know, I just wanted to get my life together, and I wanted to start my life, and I wanted to, you know, start it right away. So he said, so I think it's best for us to just get over this and, you know, be family and work it out. And her father said, it's not going to happen that simple, partner. It's not going to happen that simple. And so Cameron and Aries, they are already pregnant. And so they made an agreement not to tell nobody. But she, behind Cameron's back, told her father that they were pregnant. And she said she did it because they did it the wrong way. He didn't ask for her hand in marriage, and she didn't want to just throw this on her father. So her father was like, oh, wow, you know, you guys just doing everything fast, and things that happen fast and fast. And so Cameron ends up telling Aries, because they're going to have a party to reveal that she's pregnant, that for the family, that his sisters have a problem because she didn't come to the party they threw. And so he said, it's just like you don't want me to you want me to make sure your father's happy, and you want me to apologize for not doing things the right way. You need to be the same with my sisters. I don't want them upset, and they're upset. And so with that being said, she agreed. Okay, I'll do it. And so that was basically the gist of season 49 for them. They were getting the baby room together and all of the things. And so what I'm going to say about that couple is it's a red flag. And you saying Heiress is saying she does not want him to be involved in anything that's illegal. And if he can't tell you where he's getting his money from, I think that's a problem. I think that's a red flag. And I didn't mention that he don't want to look for a job right now. He wants to be a rapper. So that's another red flag, because she has bought a house. She has a daughter, and now they have 2 kids. And she needs help. And I think he should be looking for a job instead of trying to be a rapper. That's what you do on the side. And so I just think he's too thugged out for her. But we'll see. But what I do like about, I don't think that she should have told her father if they agreed not to. Because if he finds out, if Cameron finds out, it may be a problem. But with that relationship, I don't know. They had a big disagreement with his drinking. And so he had just got out of jail. So I'm not going to count that against him because he just got out of jail. But he has a problem with people telling him what to do. And in marriages, that happens. And I hope he doesn't have a alcohol problem, because he was like really, really drunk. But I'm going to give him a pass. But we'll see what happens in the next episode. Okay. And so the next couple is Sean and Sarah. Okay. So Sean is 48 and Sarah is 30. They live in Ohio. Sean has about 5 or 6 kids. He might have more than that, but he has a lot of children. And Sarah had a baby, and so now he either got 8 kids. He got a lot of children. Okay, so the problem with Sean and Sarah is that once Sean was romancing her when he got out of jail and while he was in jail. And then he gets out and he gets married to her. Now, I don't know where these people getting this money, because he ended up buying her a home. Well, no, Sarah was the one in jail. Okay, so let me backtrack. Sarah was the one in jail. And Sean was is the one that had all the children. And he had a nice, beautiful home. And he was romancing her while she was in jail. He was putting money on her books, just giving her all the attention. And so when she got out, he immediately wanted to marry her. And but after they got married, he stopped the romance. He stopped spending time with her. He doesn't, she had her baby, and he doesn't help with the baby. All he do is go to work, come home, and play video games. And he was sick of it. And so in the meantime, the baby's father, let me backtrack. Sarah did have one child, a little girl. And so the baby's father called Sarah, and he was incarcerated, but he said he was getting out soon, that he is off drugs, that he wanted to be in his child's life, and he wanted to get her back. And, he was talking all this talk, and she was with it. She was like, this man, all he do is play video games and go to work. He don't pay me no attention. When I was in jail, he gave me more attention. And so she was like, acting like she was with it. So behind her husband's back, she made arrangements at her mother's house to see him. And they went to the park, and he was able to see the daughter. He didn't tell the daughter that he was the father. She just said this was a friend. And she told him not to tell her husband, Sean. And so at the park, he was telling her he want her back. He loved her. And she said that she still had a connection with him. And she, they didn't end the relationship with the closing. And and that she was, thinking about leaving her husband. And right after that, she goes home, and he's got a hot tub, her husband, in the living room, and a blow-up hot tub. He had roses, petals on the floor, in the water, champagne, the lights down low. He took the baby over to her mama house, and she says, I don't want to get in a hot tub. I'm tired. I want to go to sleep. And he know his wife, so he was like, nah. He said, you've been crying for me to be romantic, to spend some time with you, and this is what I'm doing, and this is how you gonna play me, and I just bought this hot tub for us. He said something is not right, and she was like, well, I'm tired, and he was like, well, let's make love. I'm tired. You don't want to do it, so I don't want to do it. And she just went upstairs, and she did feel bad, but her husband knew something was wrong. So he asked her mother, and she was like, I don't know. She finally told the truth, because he was like, I know you have an affair. And she finally told the truth that the ex-boyfriend and the father of her child is getting out of jail. And yes, she didn't know how he would react. And so she wanted to see, was he really clean, if he was really sober, if he's going to really stick around in the child's life. And he felt hurt. Sean felt really hurt, because he's like, you could have just told me that. But to actually lie to me, and not more than once, but many times, your mama was in this lie. You told your daughter to lie to me. And so she was scared of leaving him, because he said he didn't want this type of relationship. And she knew doggone well that man had nothing to offer her. And now she got 2 kids. So guess what? She got it together. She was like, listen, I'll do anything to work this relationship out. You can meet him and all of the things. So he ended up meeting him, and he felt the father of her child felt disrespected, because he reached to shake his hand and he wouldn't shake his hand. But at the end of the day, he said in the confessional, he saw this man was sober. He saw this man was really, wanting to be in the daughter's life. And so he had no problems with him. And he didn't have nothing but respect for him, but he was just scared that he might try to take his wife. And so he went back and apologized. And this season, this past episode, the newest episode, was that he was, he doesn't really like this man, because let's see. I forgot. Okay, so okay, so what happened with Sean and Sarah, it wasn't too much happening with this episode that just happened. The episode, what happened was they were just still talking about the child and the father, and whether or not he's going to stay sober or be in the child's life. And they just working on themselves, because he did feel this deceit. And the father did come around, and he introduced himself to the child as his father. They broke the news to the daughter that he's the father, and that was pretty much the wrap up for them. Now, what I will say about this relationship is that she should have been honest with her husband. And when her husband tried to make amends and bought the hot tub, she should have went with it. So she was wrong for that. And she was really thinking about leaving him for her father of her child. So she was wrong all the way around. Now, he was wrong too, because he should have been paying her attention. He should have been trying to help her with the children. But what I do like about this couple And it's that they trying to work it out, and he realized his mistake and she realized her mistake. So I think they might have a chance of working things out and sticking together. So the next couple, which is the last, no, it's not the last couple. The next couple is going to be Amber and Puppy. Now, Amber is 37 and Puppy is 37. And so these two women were incarcerated together, and they were also lovers while they were in jail. Now, when they got out of jail, they stopped being lovers. They both decided they liked men, and it wouldn't be good for their friendship. And so they decided to be just friends. So both of them, both Puppy and Amber, have been in relationships. Now, Puppy ended her relationship because she didn't know that she was in a relationship with a married man. And they were supposed to be living together, okay? And he couldn't afford the bills at some point, and she was spending a lot of money. And they both were spending money, and then he couldn't pay for the bills. And then she overheard a conversation, him on the phone talking to his wife. And now she knew that he had been married before, but she didn't know that they had never been divorced. And she found out that he was married. So she immediately left all her stuff, got all her stuff out the house. How he was living with her, I think maybe he must have been a little separated from the wife or whatever. But they were still married, and they was talking about working things out. But yeah, he was with Puppy. So Puppy moved in with her friend Queen, and we're going to go to Amber. Now, Amber was living with this man, and she got pregnant, and the doctor told her that her baby, her health would be at stake if she had her baby. She could die. And so the doctor recommended her to get an abortion. She talked about it with her man. He was nonchalant. He's the type of man that don't know how to show his feelings. So with that being said, she started drinking heavily and just being a drunk. And he was disgusted by it. At the end, he told her, he apologized to her, but then he told her that he was not attracted to her anymore, and the drinking disgusted him, but yet he's leaving the house dirty, don't help her around the house, don't give her any type of emotional support that she needed, because her having to have an abortion really put her in a bad way. So when she came home, she saw the house was real dirty, and she called Puppy up and told Puppy to get everybody on the line and they come help her move, because just about everything in her house was hers. And so I think both Puppy and Amber did a great thing by leaving the men they were with. When you're not getting the love that you should have, then you need to, if the person, she tried to talk with him, but he said he's just a man that just can't show he just don't know how to deal with his emotions with others. And so that's not what she needed. So she left, and good for her. Now, Puppy, hey, she found out this man was married and she was out. And so I think both of them made the right decision. So the last couple on the list tonight is going to be Marcelino and Brittany. Marcelino is 44 and Brittany is 32, and they live in St. Cloud, Florida. They have 3 children. Okay, so the scoop on them was Brittany was the one in jail. And Brittany was bisexual, but she fell in love with Marcelino, how he treated her while she was in jail. And, he tried to provide stability for her, but he wasn't really stable himself. He was a professional gambler. And she knew that he was a professional gambler because he had to tell her the truth. And she said, well, you need to get a job. And so he just felt like after they had their child together, because Brittany had 2 children of her own, and then they have a child together. And he just did not want to, he decided he didn't, they were married, they were living, they had a home, and it's, they just wasn't getting along. And he wanted to still be out in the streets, and, he didn't want the responsibility of 3 children. And so one of the kids in this episode said, hey, Dad, we need to get married again to my mother, because that's when everybody was happy. All y'all do was argue. It touched his heart that happened. And so he looked at all his pictures of them together when they got married. And he went and bought a ring and proposed to her and said he was sorry. He wants his family. This is what he chose. He wants to stick with it. And he wants another chance. And even though she said he hasn't shown her that this is what he wants, and made and improved himself yet, and showed himself that he can be a better man, her heart really wanted him. And so she said yes. So that was pretty much what this last episode was about. And I just think that, I don't know if he's ready, because he needs to get himself together. But at least he says he's willing to work it out, so we just have to wait and see. And so that is the end of Life After Lockup. I just got you guys caught up all in one video. I'm sorry this video was long, but I went back to tell you the backstory, and then went to season 4, episode 49. And it comes on every Friday at 8 o'clock. And it's very entertaining. It's on the We channel. And so I just thought I'll share what's going on by doing a review. And that's going to conclude this video.